Most coaches don't fail because they lack tactics. They stall because the person running the business hasn't caught up to the vision yet. And today's guest specializes in closing that gap fast. So welcome back to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast show, where coaches, consultants can learn how to grow their businesses, and also through podcasting, whether you're hosting your own show or guesting your way to more visibility. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Cailen Ascher. She is an award-winning business and embodiment coach who helps coaches fast-track success by stepping into the version of themselves who already has the business that they want and aligning their strategy to match that. She works with entrepreneurs who are just tired of feeling stuck between where they are now and where they know they're capable of going. And she helps them collapse time on 5-year visions by shifting that identity and executing it now in the present moment. So this episode is called Collapsing Time Through Identity. Welcome to the show, Cailen.
Well, thank you for that beautiful intro, Karen. I'm so glad to be here.
Let the listeners into a little bit of your backstory. What inspired you to do what you're doing now?
Yes, it's always a long and winding road, isn't it? When you've been in business any bit of time. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I've been a coach specifically for over a decade. And I think what really got me on the path to the work I'm doing now and the way I've integrated it was when I, in my early 20s, became a certified yoga instructor. I was taking yoga classes and just feeling so great. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm moving my body, but this isn't going to the gym. This feels different. There's some other flavor here. And so that inspired me to go on and get certified and become a yoga teacher. And then I realized I was bringing all of my love of business into yoga. I'm like, I'm building a website and I'm pitching these cool opportunities. And I really approached it like a business and a brand. And other teachers who were much more established than myself started seeking my advice, saying, hey, I just always let the studio find me people, but you're going out there, you're really taking the lead with this. And so that's where I had that crossover moment into coaching. Oh, there's this place to serve people, women, I work with women, in this really beautiful way, helping them get the work that they're most passionate about into the world. And so that's what started me on the coaching path.
Love that.
Yeah.
Very similar. I didn't teach yoga. I taught a class called Body Balance, which was a mix of yoga, Tai Chi. And then, I taught for 20 years before going into this. So I think it's quite a natural next step, isn't it? Because you want to help people. That's your primary goal. And you can help them. You can instruct them. You can coach them. You can inspire them. You can motivate them. It's all very similar. Awesome. So look, you talk about collapsing time on 5-year visions. What does that actually mean in practical business terms?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very poetic, right? Let's quantum leap to the new timeline. But practically what this looks like, and it's honestly what I've been inadvertently studying from yoga through business coaching, investing in my own coaches and mentors, working with spiritual teachers. It's because what I've noticed for myself and in the patterns of the women that I work with, so often we're reaching for a goal because we think we're going to feel a certain way when we hit it. Oh, once I make $100,000 a year or 500,000 or $1 million or whatever the number is, then I will feel secure, grounded, successful, whatever the words are. And what I was so hungry for that led me on my personal journey and what I now strive to bring into my relationships with my clients is how can we now, without anything shifting around us, bring in those feelings that we think are waiting on the other side of this time and this goal, bring it into the now reality, because the truth is the goal has to be in alignment with who we are. If we're stressed and fearful and worried and frustrated and thinking money's so hard to make, we're not setting ourselves up in the best way to become a successful, abundant, thriving business owner. We're blocking that journey. And so the practical application is the more we can clear out the stuff that's keeping us stuck and small and shrinking away from the things that we truly want, the more clear and focused and efficient and effective we become in our business efforts because there's not stuff standing in our way.
I love that. For me, that just really sounds like the ultimate explanation of the law of attraction, because I think so many people misunderstand it. They think, oh, I've just got to ask the universe and they're going to give it to me. That's not working. It's from the place that you're asking. Yes. If you're asking from that place of lack, then the universe thinks you're not there yet. So I love that approach. You've got to find a way to feel as you would do if you'd already achieved that goal. And I think that is the challenge, right? So what are 3 behaviors you'd expect from a coach who's ready for their next income level to be able to actually do this?
Yeah, so I love that. Let's ground it in the practical. So something that I think is really baseline in terms of a practice that is really essential for us to access this place of clarity and alignment within ourselves is having my preference would be a daily practice where you sit with yourself in meditation, in silence, where you allow the noise to fall away and the truth, which might feel quiet on the inside, but that highest expression to start getting louder and building a relationship with it, because you're going to be your most creative self when you listen to that voice within. You're going to feel so aligned and focused and on track. And the goals and the visions actually might start to shift in what I interpret as more aligned with our soul's path instead of our ego's path.
Ah, there be the key, right?
There we go.
We've got to get out of our own way. And I love that. I used to say to myself, I'm practicing my unthinking.
Yes.
Which is quite a challenge. And especially as a teacher, an instructor, I talk a lot, right? So it's shut up, Karen, verbally, mentally. And that is when ideas come up, because it is connected to your actual inner wanting. And that is that. Do you find that's the biggest that people struggle with that the most?
Yeah, it was the hardest thing for me too. I remember when I first was going through my yoga teacher certification. This was in my early 20s, so almost 20 years ago. It was such a challenge to make a commitment to sit for even 5 minutes in silence, or maybe with some gentle music playing if you can't do the total silence. It was such a challenge, and now, all these years later, my body craves it. If I don't give myself that time, I can feel how activated, and not in a positive way, just in this like noisy, frenetic, energetic way, how busy it feels in my body. And I think we could all agree, like, our best expressions don't come out from that place when we're feeling rushed and frantic and stressful and, oh my gosh, I've got 50 things to do and I don't have enough time. We're not producing our best content. We're not showing up as our best selves in business or just in life with our people. Having that moment to drop in, I call it sacred self-alignment, where you are coming into relationship, into conversation with your sacred self, and letting her have an opportunity to speak and come forward. And it feels really good when you give yourself the permission to do that. Finding the time for that, like, that's the ultimate challenge. Like, everything else is down. It's like downstream from there. I know that's like the biggest block, but I think that's such a key and such a gift to ourselves when we do it.
And it doesn't have to be for long, does it? At the end of the day, everybody can find this time. It's just that we're not in the habit of doing it because we've been so conditioned to do. And in the do, we're also think. And so that inner voice, the poor thing really we're not listening, are we? We're not hearing. So when we actually take time to listen, she's there to help us, right?
Yeah. Oh, and she gets so happy. Oh my gosh, you get all the downloads. You're like, with this practice that I do it every day, sometimes multiple times a day, because honestly, it just feels so good. The things that pour through, it's not when I'm at my computer forcing myself to write an email. It's when I'm in the shower, when I'm lying in bed, or when I'm like driving in the car without listening to music or a podcast, that all of a sudden, boom, something falls
Mm,
in. And those are our best, most creative ideas because we're not trying to force it. We're just
mm.
open to the flow. And
We're-
that's really fun when you start getting into conversation with this like inner voice and she starts giving you all this really good stuff. And you're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
this is great. I love it.
Yeah. So allow it, allow it. What beliefs would you say keep a lot of coaches stuck at the same revenue year after year?
Yeah, the ones I see a lot with my clients, they're such big hearted women. They're so want to help and be of service, but they question, is the thing I have to offer valuable? Is the thing I have to say worth listening to? Who am I to do this work? Who am I to charge for what I'm, these gifts that maybe come easily to me? And I think that people call it imposter syndrome a lot, right? Like, I think it's a really interesting thing because when imposter syndrome comes in, we want to push it away. We're like, oh, that feels so uncomfortable. I don't like it. I wish I didn't have it. And I think the reframe here that's most helpful is realizing when that's coming up, it's just an indication that we are at our growth edge. We have hit like the edge of our comfort zone and all the stuff's coming up to keep us safe inside that comfort zone. So, imposter syndrome isn't a good thing or a bad thing. It's just an indication that you are right there at this growth edge, and you can choose whether or not it's there to step beyond it and to bring that work into the world and to share that blog post or podcast episode that you're like, oh, this might ruffle some feathers. And the more you do the work of dropping into that sacred self alignment, as I call it, that voice does diminish, but it doesn't, in my experience at least. I don't know, maybe if you're an enlightened being, but in my experience, it doesn't go away
No,
entirely. And
no.
that's okay. You just are like, oh, that's there. Okay. It's loud right now. I'm feeling it. You just see it with more distance.
Mm. And then you can accept it easier, and then it quietens, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I see that all the time. I was definitely there, especially as when I started podcasting. I'm just the host, right? I'm interviewing people, and when I went to solo episodes, that was a major thing to get over. Like, who's going to actually listen? Who wants to listen to me? And so that this identity, this is the issue, isn't it? A lot of us will go through these feelings of I'm not good enough, this is not good, I'm not worthy for success. So how does identity affect how someone shows up? Let's take guesting on podcasts, for instance. How is that affecting them?
Yeah. It affects everything, right? Because who we believe ourselves to be becomes a lived expression in every moment of the day. So if you are someone who is so riddled with imposter syndrome that you can't even separate it as other, it's just, I am an imposter. That's like what you're saying to yourself. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not ready. That's a lot, right? It's the I'm not ready. Need more time, more certifications, more education, whatever. That's going to prevent you from taking any action, right? You're not going to reach out to podcasts. You're not going to connect with hosts. You're not going to sign up for Podmatch. That's how we connected. You're not going to do any of those small or big actions that move you towards what you maybe stated at one time of being a goal of more visibility and speaking on more podcasts. Where if you, and it's not that we necessarily have to do the 180 polar opposite of that. If we're really struggling, but if we can get to the point of breaking that shell of out of feeling like no one wants to hear me to maybe what I'm sharing will help one person. And if it can really help one person, who am I to say my voice shouldn't be heard if it's exactly what that one person needs? And then when you think that way, you start to get out of your own way and realize you're doing such a disservice by
Mm.
keeping yourself stuck in small and keeping yourself in that pattern of not reaching out and not taking the actions that are actually going to be of highest service. And then maybe someday you'll get to the point where you're not just picturing that one person, but there's 10, there's 100, there's 1,000 people and you can build it from there. But I think that's the
Brilliant.
big thing. Yeah. Being in
Great advice. Great advice. It is do the thing and you get the energy to do the thing. And it is something that it does get easy with time, right? The more you do it, just like anything in life, when you're learning something new, but it all does stem from how we see us. So can you share a story of maybe a client who really shifted identity first and then saw measurable business results?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there was a woman recently that I was working with. And when we first started our work together, she came in. She's, I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. There wasn't much of a sparkle around it. It was just, I did the certification and now I'm ready to like do my life coach work. Okay. But let's really get underneath that. What does your soul expression want to be? Who are we? What is the flavor of this coaching that you're offering? Because our soul doesn't speak in like boxes, like a life coach, relationship coach, business coach, whatever. It does not a title. There's something that wants to be expressed. And as we did our work together and she really felt into it, she was feeling all of these threads of the sacred feminine. She had studied that at university. She had been a lifelong spiritual seeker. This is what made her feel most alive when she was bringing in spirituality and feminine practices. But she hadn't given herself permission to think that could be a way that she could serve people and that could be a way she could make money. That was like, whoa, is this even allowed? And as she felt into it, the soul calling just got louder and louder. She was like, I can't not do this. And so obviously she's not calling herself a life coach anymore. She's like a sacred, I don't even know what her now title is, but she is leading women into deep reverence of the sacred feminine so that they feel their light, their, life force come back in that really powerful way, releasing all that conditioning. And it was really remarkable. Once she locked in, because she went from a place of struggling for clients, not making much money. As she locked that in, she opened the doors for her first beta round of her program, all about guiding women into the sacred feminine. She filled that within a few weeks. And then the next time she launched it, she quadrupled the price and she filled 3 spots on the first day.
There you go.
They were so hungry for it. Her people were right there waiting, and she just needed to be who she was. And then suddenly they saw her and needed the work she was offering.
That's massive. And I think that's a big problem is these titles. People come in and they say, I'm a business coach or I'm a this coach and I'm a that coach. It's, but who do you specifically serve and why should they come to you in the first place? What are you actually offering them? What's the big promise, the end game that you can give them? And it is, I think people really struggle to articulate that, which is why podcasting is so good, because I could have just announced what title could I have given you at the beginning? Business coach. It's very different to what you have shared here. And which is why this is so powerful, because then people go, oh, I didn't realize, maybe she can help me. And that's why I love this process. Let's give the listeners something that they can take away. What would you say is one habit? And okay, so this episode was going to be about collapsing time, right, for their 5-year vision. So if somebody wants to get to 7 figures, say, one habit that every 7-figure coach has before they reach the 7 figures.
That's so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to feel into it because I think there's a few different directions I could go in. I want to give something that feels really grounded and practical. I think in my world, all of the amazing women who have rose up to that level, that 7-figure, in a really spacious, grounded way, not in a hustle, stressful way, they were so committed to the movement they were here to lead, the mission they were here to steward, that and being in service of that got them out of their own way of not reaching out to the event that they wanted to speak out, not reaching out to the podcast they wanted to guest on, not reaching out to the clients that they wanted to work with because they felt what they were sharing was revelatory and so transformational for the right people that they showed up in spite of the resistance. So I think what this, if you're hungry for like an action step, what this would look like is sitting maybe after a meditation and really feeling into what is the movement I am here to lead? Because that's a very different conversation than how can I hit 10K months?
Yeah.
That's a totally different energetic frequency. When you think about what is the movement I am here to lead? What am I going to wake up and steward through my work every single day, whether or not clients are coming in, whether or not money is flowing in, whether or not opportunities are coming in this now moment, because I so know that this is so important. This is what my soul is here to do, that all of that is already happening if I stick with this. They can feel it. And that's what, when I'm talking about coming into sacred self-alignment, that's the energy that you drop into. And then you step into your workday and you're like, you're freaking unstoppable because you're just like, I'm firing on all cylinders here.
Brilliant. Your mission is something that's bigger than just you. It's got to be something that's outside of you rather than just chasing the dollar signs. Love that. Cailen, look, if there's listeners out there that are like, okay, they might recognize that maybe they are in their own way and maybe they'd like to collapse that timeline. What should the listeners do next? How can they get involved with you?
Yeah, so they can connect with me over on Instagram, Cailen.Ascher. That's my preferred social media platform. I also have a really beautiful free training. It's about 20 minutes that talks more about sacred self-alignment specifically and how that directly translates into profitable, scalable business assets, which wasn't totally where our conversation landed today. But if you're someone, I really want to understand how alignment becomes offers and strategies and pricing models, that training is really helpful to ground that.
And where can they find that?
CailenAscher.com/shift.
Awesome. And if you're driving, walking the dog, in the shower, whatever, and you can't get to that, don't worry. The links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for that, Cailen. And guys, to the listeners, look, before we wrap up, I also have something special for you. If today's conversation has got you thinking differently about how you show up in your business, one of the biggest things that I see holding coaches back might not be strategy, but it's not knowing how to talk about what they do in a way that actually attracts the right clients. So I've created a custom Storybank GPT that just helps you uncover and organize the exact stories that you should be telling on podcasts, in content, and in sales conversations, the ones that actually build authority and lead people naturally towards working with you. And you can get access to it absolutely free. Just go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and grab the Storybank GPT. To the listeners, I'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're